I realize this might not be obvious to everyone because I got some questions about it. So this is how the fixtures get lined up with the dimensions within the CAM system rather. So we have the calibration hole here. This is the Heimer Zero Master, I think. And I have a digital probe as well, but I haven't, the accuracy, when it's accurate, it's spot on, but sometimes there's software issues that cause problems with it. So I've been sticking with the Heimer for now just to keep things moving along. My jog control is over here a little bit. So I'll jog over to the pocket. And the way I design these is that the shape of the Heimer just clears the side corner of the fixture there. And then what's nice is the ball on the Heimer, I think this is 4mm. So the cam already takes into account the offsets for the ball, so you don't have to deal with subtracting that out of the X and the Y. Make sure I'm clear here. You can see we got a nice little gap. There's sort of a weird recess on the Heimer. I think some of the other ones are shaped differently, but this is a little bit older. We'll slow down because once the camera's on, you tend to be an idiot. Okay, get positioned a little bit. You want to make sure the ball is well below the surface so that it's consistent. Okay. Now we'll go back. And you can see I'm not 100% at zero. Temperature variations have a big effect on the Heimer. Dropping down my jog interval. There we go, we see a jump. And then we come back. There we go, spot on. So we'll set the Y. Now we'll set the X. There we go. So that's set. Now for the Z, because the height of, well, I'm already on the blank, which does have a fixed height. But for example, when you're cutting a raw, the height will vary because the thickness of the titanium from the mill will be slightly different. So you change the tool and then throw this up here. I could set this in a fixed position, but again, I've been having software issues with doing that, so I use it as almost one of those little metal things you'd see on a shop bot. The first operation on a Hanova scale blank is a small hole that's clearance for a bolt that holds down, this is the inside side of the scale, just assists in holding this down. There are the Mighty Bite clamps, and they actually are very strong, but I always worry. I like to have a little bit of overkill in the clamp down, given the cost of titanium and tooling and all that. So this will be a hole that's clearance for a bolt hole for a little M4 screw that also screws through where not the pivot hole, because Hanova doesn't have a pivot, but where some of the other holes for the bearings and clearances and things are. This is just a temporary clearance hole from the inside where that bolt goes. So I have the Z setter lined up. You can watch the light down here to see it, trigger. There we go. And that's it. Now we're ready to start the op. Forgot the first operation is the spot drill. We're testing out our Rain-X setup on the drill op. And so the drills as a whole are a lot easier to deal with. Not a heck of a lot to see here, but we're drilling the pilot hole, or the clearance hole, for an M4 bolt that'll hold this down just a little bit tighter while we do the other operations. Our hole is drilled. A lot of knife making is particularly glamorous. There we go. Op 1 is done. So now on to the other 596 operations. Pop the hold down screw in, hex bolt, I guess. And now this setup is really rock solid for the next set of operations. It may look a little strange that there's a whole series of holes along here, but the titanium that I get from the mill it varies a bit. inside, so you got to accommodate for those blanks and the differences thereof.
Here's our next operation. I've got the respirator on because I got the door open and generating a lot of mist here. This is the outside profile. It's done with a 4mm roughing end mill carbide, and it's kind of a money meets the road operation. Anything goes right here, it's all start over. I always like this point where you can start to see the outline of the handles, the scales, and edging. It's kind of satisfying.
That operation is complete, so we have our profile here. And now what we did is go down 1.5 millimeters, so not all the way through the material. That way the current fixture setup holds it in place. The reason we wanted to do that though is so that we have clearance to run a chamfer end mill and chamfer this edge, just break it, just a touch, which is the inside side of the knife, and that just keeps those sharp edges from kind of feeling uncomfortable in your hand. Barely touches it. On to the next operation. This does a pocket for the custom lock mechanism. This is just the first roughing pass. There's some details where it has to clear the slider for the lock, and then also does the relief for the bearing that's used instead of a pivot on the Hanova knife. I just put some fresh Rain-X on the window, but it seems to have made things temporarily worse rather than better. Finished up the roughing pocket here. This is clearance for the custom lock mechanism. It slides back and forth in the pocket. I need to round out now with a 2mm the next operation, which creates clearance for the bearing. The bearing recess is starting to take shape there. It's a little odd shape just because of how these roughing paths go. So this is a combination of the roughing for it and a couple of the finish moves. And then we'll come back in and we'll finish it out. This is the final drill operation for the pins and the screws, the hidden fasteners. There will be one more little finish to open up a couple of the holes for threading, but just about done with the first inside side of the Hanova thumb scale. This is the completed internal thumb scale. So now we'll mount it, we'll take it off, mount it upside down in our next fixture, and get the contouring and the finish on the other side. As well as what I think is the most terrifying step, the reaming of the bearing hole. Quick little sanity check on the QA here of this is how the bearing seats on that shoulder. And that's just perfect. Giveaway time, so thanks to everybody that bought the compound, gave it a 5-star review on Amazon. That helps a lot. I'm going to be giving away this chromium oxide, so if you want to win, just enter a comment below that says I want compound. And given that 6 people watch this video, your chances are pretty darn good.